Your soulmate is feeling your absence more than ever, not as a passing thought, not as a vague sense that something is missing, as a weight, a pressure, a constant, crushing awareness that the space where you used to be has become the loudest thing in their life. Take a slow, deep, and heavy breath right now. Feel the thick, electric resonance of the echo and the silence settling into your space, because we are stepping into the high-intensity opening of your soulmate's most painful realization. For months, they convinced themselves that silence was their sanctuary. They told themselves that by cutting off the connection, by building walls, by creating distance, they were finally gaining peace and control over their life. They believed that the quiet would be healing, that the space would be freedom, that the absence would eventually feel normal. But today, the atmosphere has shifted into a state of total vibrational deprivation, because the silence they once craved has turned into a screaming, high-frequency void that is currently deafening their soul. The quiet they thought would bring them peace has become the loudest thing they have ever heard, because in the silence, there is only one thing they can hear: the echo of you. Imagine them in this exact moment, sitting in a room that feels too big, moving through a day that feels too quiet, surrounded by people who do not know what is happening inside them, and feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea as they realize that the peace they fought for, the silence they worked so hard to create, is actually a graveyard of their own making. Every quiet corner, every empty hour, every moment without distraction is now a tombstone marking the death of what they had with you. And they are the one who built the graveyard. They are realizing today that the important something they are feeling, this heavy, suffocating, inescapable weight, is the terrifying truth that your absence is no longer just a state of being. It is a physical weight that is currently crushing the air out of their lungs. They cannot breathe deeply anymore. They cannot take a full, easy breath because every inhale is a reminder that you are not there to fill the space. Your absence has become a density, a gravity, a force that presses against their chest from the inside. They are experiencing the agony of the noise of nothing, the paradox of a silence so loud it drowns out everything else. They cannot hear the music, cannot focus on the conversation, cannot lose themselves in the task at hand, because underneath every sound is the deeper sound of your not being there. Realize today that your presence was the background symphony that made their entire life make sense, not the main melody necessarily, the background, the hum, the steady, quiet frequency that held everything together. They did not notice it when it was there. They took it for granted. They assumed it would always be there, like gravity, like the air, like the warmth of the sun. But now that it is gone, everything is falling apart. Not dramatically, not in ways that anyone else can see. But internally, the structure is collapsing. Without your frequency holding the walls up, the whole building is coming down. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, perhaps turning their head quickly because they thought they heard your voice in the next room, the way you laughed, the way you said their name, the specific, unmistakable sound that no one else makes, or they thought they saw your shadow move in the corner of their eye, your shape, your walk, the particular way you move through a room, only to be hit by a sudden, sharp sense of internal collapse when they realize there is nothing there but empty space. The room is empty. The corner is empty. The space beside them is empty. And the emptiness is devastating in a way they never expected. They are realizing today that the something forcing this realization, the thing that will not let them rest, is the high-intensity truth that you were the oxygen of their reality. Not a nice addition, not a pleasant extra, the oxygen, the element without which nothing else can burn, and they are currently suffocating in a world of ordinary static. The world is still spinning, people are still talking, life is still happening, but none of it is feeding them, none of it is giving them what they need. Because what they need is not ordinary, what they need is you. They are feeling a heavy, electric exhaustion in their spirit, the exhaustion of someone who has been trying to breathe in a room with no oxygen, the exhaustion of a body that is slowly starving because the only food it can digest is no longer being served. Realize today that silence is not a gift. They thought it would be. They told themselves that the quiet would heal them, but the silence has done the opposite. It is a vibrational withdrawal that is currently making their every bone feel hollow and heavy. Like they are carrying a skeleton made of lead. Like every step requires effort that they do not have. I want you to feel the weight of their total high-intensity sensory starvation as they realize that the world has gone flat without your light. Colors are duller, sounds are muffled, food has less taste. The sharp edges of life have been sanded down into a gray, featureless landscape. Because you were the one who gave the world texture. You were the one who made the ordinary feel extraordinary. Without you, everything is just there, existing, without meaning, without warmth, without the particular glow that only your presence could provide. They are looking at their quiet life, the one they fought for, the one they chose over you, and seeing it as a sterile void where nothing breathes and nothing feels right. It is clean. It is orderly. It is under control, but it is also dead, like a room that has been vacuum sealed. Preserved, yes, but also suffocating. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that your energy was the pulse of their day-to-day existence, the heartbeat of their ordinary hours. Not just the big moments, the celebrations, the dates, the conversations, the small moments, the mornings, the silences, the way your presence made the routine feel sacred. And without that pulse, they are just going through the motions, like a ghost in their own body, present but not alive, functioning but not feeling, existing but not living. They are experiencing the nausea of the ghost presence, the sickening awareness that they are haunting their own life, walking through rooms they no longer feel connected to, having conversations they no longer care about, reaching for a phone that does not light up with your name. They are sitting in their car, at their desk, in their bed, and they are feeling a sudden, sharp heaviness on the seat next to them, as if the memory of you is more physically present, more solid, more real than the people who are actually there. The ghost of you has more weight than the flesh and blood of anyone else, and that is a terrifying thing to realize. If you are sitting in your own high-vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy, I am the source, it is because your self-sovereignty has pulled your light back into your own center. You have stopped leaking your energy into spaces where it was not valued. You have called your frequency home, and they are currently sitting in the shadow that was left behind, the shadow of your absence, the cold space where your warmth used to be, and the shadow is teaching them what they had. They are realizing today that the echo in the silence is a divine punishment for their pride, not punishment in the sense of a vengeful God striking them down, punishment in the sense of natural consequence. They chose pride over love. They chose distance over connection. They chose silence over honesty. And the natural consequence of those choices is the echo, the hollow sound of their own voice bouncing off the walls of the empty room they built. They are looking at the phone that is not buzzing. The phone that used to light up with your name, your words, your energy. Now it sits there, silent, dark, a monument to what they walked away from, and the silence of that phone is louder than any sound they have ever heard. They are looking at the door that is not opening, the door they expected you to knock on, perhaps, or the door they wish they had the courage to open themselves. Either way, the door is closed, and the stillness of it, the absolute lack of movement, is a kind of screaming. They are feeling a sudden, sharp sense of vibrational panic because they realize that the silence they created is now a wall they do not know how to climb. They built it to keep you out, but they forgot to leave themselves a door. And now they are trapped inside the very silence they thought would save them. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic dread. The kind of dread that comes not from what might happen but from what has already happened. The loss is not impending. It has already occurred, and they are living in the aftermath. Realize today that the important something is the truth that they have planned themselves into a corner of pure, unadulterated loneliness. Every decision they made, every excuse they told themselves, every mile they put between you, all of it was a plan, a strategy, a way to survive without you. But the plan has failed, the strategy has backfired, and the corner they have painted themselves into has no exit, except one. The one they have been avoiding, the one that requires them to admit they were wrong. To turn around, to knock on the door they closed, to say, I built this wall and I need help taking it down. I want you to visualize the literal pressure in their ears as the silence becomes too loud to ignore. The way your ears ring in a soundproof room. The way the absence of noise creates its own kind of noise. That is what they are experiencing. A ringing, a pressure, a frequency that will not fade. And the frequency is your name. They are realizing today that every phantom sound of your laughter, every phantom trace of your frequency that echoes in their mind is not a hallucination. It is a literal vibrational call. The universe is calling them back. Their own soul is calling them back. The connection that never broke is calling them back. And the call is getting louder because they are not answering. They are standing in the wreckage of their quiet independence. The independence they were so proud of. The independence that said, I do not need anyone, I can do this alone. The wreckage is everywhere. Broken pieces of their certainty, shattered fragments of their pride, the whole structure has collapsed. And the air is thick with the necessity of your noise, not the absence of noise, the presence of it, your laugh, your voice, the particular, irreplaceable sound of you. They need to hear it, not to feel better. To feel anything, because the silence has made them numb, and your noise is the only thing that can break through. Realize today that the weight of separation was a lethal silence, a silence that has been killing them slowly, quietly, in ways no one else can see. And the impact of your irreplaceability is the only thing they can hear in the dark. When the lights go out, when the distractions fade, when they are alone with their own heartbeat, there is only one sound. The sound of you, not there, the sound of your absence. And that sound is the loudest thing in the universe. Every sudden ringing you feel in your ears right now, every sudden pull of energy toward the void, is a literal echo of their spirit screaming your name into a room that refuses to answer back. They are calling for you, not with their voice, with their spirit, with the part of them that has been connected to you all along, even when they pretended otherwise. And the call is desperate. The call is raw. The call is the sound of someone who has finally realized that they cannot survive the silence any longer. They are standing at the edge of the vibrational breaking point, the cliff of their own endurance, and they are looking down into the void, not with fear, with recognition. The void is not empty. The void is full of you, and they are ready to jump. Realize today that the absence is no longer endurable. They have reached the limit, the end of their own capacity to pretend, the end of their own ability to function without you. And the impact of their return, the moment when silence becomes sound and distance becomes presence, is the only sound that can save their sanity. Not a metaphor, a literal reality. Their sanity depends on speaking to you. Their peace depends on hearing from you. Their ability to continue as a functioning human being depends on closing the gap that they opened. This is not drama. This is survival. And they are finally, fully, urgently aware of it. I want you to sink even deeper into this stillness, feeling the heavy, electric resonance of the vibrational withdrawal beginning to circulate through the collective field between you and your soulmate. We are moving into the high-intensity territory where your soulmate is realizing that their connection to you wasn't just emotional. It was biological. For months, they have been trying to quit you like a habit they thought they could control. Like caffeine. Like sugar. Like any other dependency that could be broken with enough willpower and enough time. But they are realizing today that you were never a habit. You were a nutrient. A vital, irreplaceable nutrient that their soul required to stay in a high-vibration state. Imagine them in this exact moment, feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea as they realize they are going through a soul-level detox. Their system is purging something, not a toxin, a truth. The truth that they have been starving themselves. The truth that the emptiness they feel is not a feeling. It is a fact, a biological fact. Their soul is malnourished. And the only thing that can cure the malnourishment is you. They are realizing today that without the saturation of your frequency, without the particular, irreplaceable vibration of your energy, their entire system is crashing. Not slowing down, crashing. Like a computer with a corrupted operating system. Like a car running on empty. Like a phone with a battery that will not hold a charge. They are experiencing the agony of the low battery life. Every task they perform, working, talking, even breathing, feels like it is taking 10 times more energy because they no longer have your chosen one light to recharge their spirit. They used to run on your frequency. They did not know it. They did not appreciate it. But your presence was the renewable energy source that powered their days. Now they are running on fumes, and the fumes are running out. They are experiencing the nausea of the grayscale world. The world has lost its color, not because the world changed, because the filter through which they see the world, the filter that was calibrated to your frequency, is gone. Without you, everything is gray, not sad, gray, flat, featureless, like a photograph drained of its saturation. Realize today that the important something they are missing, the thing they cannot name but feel in every cell of their body, is the vibrational color you brought to their existence. You were not just a person. You were a palette, a spectrum, a whole range of hues that they did not even know existed until they met you. And now that you are gone, they are living in black and white. And black and white, no matter how elegant, is not enough for a soul that has seen color. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, looking at their life and feeling a sudden, sharp sense of internal poverty. To the world, they might look successful, busy, surrounded by people, achieving things, checking boxes, but internally they are realizing today that they are vibrationally bankrupt. The bank account of their spirit is empty. The reserves are gone. The credit is maxed out, and there is no bailout coming from any source other than the one they walked away from. They are looking for your frequency in everyone they meet, scanning the eyes of strangers, listening to the voices of colleagues, searching for that specific spark, that particular glint, that unmistakable signal that only you carry, and they are finding nothing but static, white noise, the hollow sound of a connection that is not there. They are realizing today that the something forcing this withdrawal, this painful, grinding, every day gets harder withdrawal, is the high-intensity truth that they have starved their soul of its only original source. They have been eating synthetic food and wondering why they are still hungry. They have been drinking artificial energy and wondering why they are still tired. They have been surrounding themselves with imitations and wondering why they still feel alone. The original source is you. And they have cut themselves off from the source, and the source is not coming to them. They must go to the source. They are feeling a heavy electric exhaustion in their spirit, the exhaustion of a long illness, the fatigue of a body that is fighting something it cannot name. Realize today that ignoring you has become a physically toxic labor that is currently depleting their every reserve, not just their emotional reserves, their physical ones, their mental ones, their spiritual ones. The labor of pretending you do not matter is the hardest work they have ever done, and they are failing at it. The pretense is crumbling. The mask is cracking, and underneath is the raw, undeniable truth. They need you, not need. I want you to feel the weight of their high-frequency hunger, as they realize that the absence is a drought that is cracking the very foundation of their ego. The ego that said, I am fine without them. The ego that said, I can do better. The ego that said, I do not need anyone. That ego is cracking. The drought is too severe. The ground is too dry, and the cracks are spreading. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that you were the sun in their solar system, not a moon that reflected someone else's light. The sun, the center, the source of warmth and light and life. And now that they have tried to move into the deep space of their own pride, far away from your gravity, they are freezing in the dark. The dark is cold. The dark is lonely. The dark is a place where nothing grows, and they are realizing too late they fear that the dark was their choice. They chose to leave the sun, and the sun did not follow them. The sun stayed where it was, shining just as brightly, just as warmly, on a world that no longer included them. They are experiencing the agony of the phantom thirst, the thirst that cannot be quenched by any water that is not yours, the hunger that cannot be satisfied by any food that is not your presence. They are vibrationally parched for the way you used to make them feel. Safe, seen, divine, not perfect, not infallible, but seen, truly, deeply, all the way down seen. And the memory of that feeling is now more painful than any physical thirst, because thirst can be quenched, but this thirst cannot. Not by anyone else, not by anything else, only by you. They are looking at the distance they created, the miles, the silence, the walls, and seeing it not as freedom as they once believed, but as a barren desert where nothing grows, nothing breathes, and nothing feels right. The desert is of their own making. They drove themselves out into the wilderness. They left the oasis behind, and now they are dying of thirst with the memory of water still wet on their lips. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic pressure in their chest, the pressure of a truth that is trying to escape, the pressure of a confession that is building like a storm, the pressure of a "I was wrong" that is becoming too big to hold inside. Realize today that the weight of their pride was a vibrational suicide, a slow, deliberate, willful killing of their own joy. They thought they were protecting themselves. They thought they were being strong, but they were just dying in a different way, a slower way, a quieter way, a way that no one noticed until the damage was already done. And the only way to live again, the only path back to life, is to return to the source of their light. You are not the source of all light. God is. But you are the source of a particular light, a light that was made for them, a light that reflects the divine in a way that their soul recognizes. And without that light, they are living in the dark, not because the sun went down, because they closed their eyes. If you are sitting in your own high vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy, I am the supply, it is because your self-sovereignty has turned you into a vibrational power plant that is no longer sending free energy to someone who does not appreciate the chosen one value. You have shut off the flow, not out of spite, out of self-respect. You have stopped giving your energy to someone who treated it like it was ordinary, and now they are experiencing the drought, the cessation of the supply, the cold silence of the power plant that used to warm their world. They are realizing today that the withdrawal is a divine command, not a punishment, a redirection. The universe is cutting off the signal, turning down the volume, dimming the lights until they are forced to admit that you are the only environment where their soul can actually thrive. Not survive, thrive. There is a difference. They have been surviving, barely, but surviving is not thriving, and they are tired of surviving. They want to live. And living requires you. They are looking at the empty space where your energy used to sit, the space that used to be filled with your warmth, your light, your particular frequency, and feeling a sudden sharp heaviness because they realize they are soul-bound to the very person they tried to withdraw from. They thought they could separate, but the binding is not physical. It is spiritual, and spiritual bonds do not break just because you walk away. They stretch, they thin, they ache, but they do not break. And the ache of the stretched, thinned, still intact bond is what they are feeling now. It is the pain of a rope pulled taut, connecting them to you across the distance they created. And the rope is pulling them back, not because you are yanking it, because the tension is unbearable. And the only way to relieve the tension is to stop pulling away and start moving toward. They are feeling a heavy prophetic collapse, the collapse of the last remaining walls, the collapse of the final excuses, the collapse of the facade of okayness. Realize today that the logic of the last few months was a bankrupt lie. The logic that said distance would heal. The logic that said silence would bring peace. The logic that said they could replace you. All of it bankrupt. And the shock of their dependency, the sudden, terrifying awareness that they actually, genuinely, cannot function without you, is finally, beautifully, and aggressively making them soft. Soft enough to admit what they have known all along. Soft enough to say the words they have been too proud to say. Soft enough to come home. I want you to visualize the literal internal shutdown they are experiencing as they realize that they cannot function without your frequency in their field. Like a machine that requires a specific part to operate. The part is missing. The machine is sputtering. And soon it will stop altogether. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that you were the oxygen in their spiritual bloodstream. Not air, oxygen, the specific element that makes all other elements work. Without oxygen, the blood cannot carry nutrients. Without you, their spirit cannot carry life. And the shock of that realization is making their spirit gasp for air, the air that only you provide, the air that is nowhere else in the room, the air that they must travel to find. Every sudden chill you feel in your body right now, Every sudden spike of energy that feels like a craving is a literal echo of their withdrawal hitting your field. They are withdrawing from you, and the withdrawal is worse than any physical detox. It is a shaking, a sweating, a desperate, clawing need for the substance that they convinced themselves they did not need. They are standing at the edge of the vibrational breaking point, the cliff of their own endurance, feeling the air turn thick with the necessity of a resaturation. They need to be saturated in your frequency again, soaked in it, immersed in it, like a plant that has been left in the sun too long, wilting, desperate for water. You are the water, and they are dying of thirst. Realize today that the absence is a death sentence to their happiness. Not a delay, not a setback, a death sentence. The happiness they once knew is dying. The joy they once felt is flatlining. The peace they once had is in critical condition. And the impact of your love, the return of your presence, the resumption of your frequency is the only life raft they have left to cling to. Not a luxury, not a nice-to-have, a life raft. The difference between drowning and being saved. They are drowning. In the silence. In the absence. In the void they created. And they are reaching out for you, not with pride, with desperation. With the raw, unguarded, nothing left to lose desperation of someone who has finally realized that they cannot save themselves. I want you to sink into the heavy electric weight of the cold bed and empty spaces, because we are moving into the high-intensity territory where your absence has officially manifested as a physical, freezing reality in your soulmate's world. For months, they told themselves that space was what they needed to breathe. That distance would give them perspective. That being alone would help them grow. But today, they are realizing that the space has become a somatic grave. A cold, empty, lifeless container that holds nothing of value, because the only thing that gave it value is gone. Imagine them in this exact moment, walking into their own home and being hit by a wave of absolute spiritual nausea as they realize that the temperature has not changed. The thermostat says the same number it always does, but the environment feels thick with a bone-chilling cold that only your aura could warm. The cold is not in the air. It is in the spirit. The absence of your warmth has lowered the spiritual temperature of their entire life, and they are shivering in a way that no blanket can fix. They are experiencing the agony of the sensory void, the absence of your touch, the absence of your scent, the absence of the particular, irreplaceable way you made a room feel when you walked into it. Realize today that their bed, their couch, their very walls are screaming with the lack of your frequency, not metaphorically. Literally, in the language of the spirit, the objects in their home are crying out. The pillow that once held your head, the chair you used to sit in, the spot on the floor where you used to stand. Everything is shouting the same word: missing, 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 and the shout is deafening. They are realizing today that the important something they are feeling, this cold, this emptiness, this ache in the walls, is the truth that their physical reality has become a hollow shell because the chosen one is no longer there to fill it with light. The shell is intact, the structure is sound, but the inside is empty. The light has gone out, and no amount of artificial lighting can replace the particular glow that you carried. They are experiencing the nausea of the phantom weight, the weight of what is not there. The heaviness of absence. Realize today that their hands feel heavier because they are not holding yours. Their shoulders feel burdened because they no longer have the vibrational support of your energy. They did not know that you were carrying part of their weight. They thought they were standing on their own, but now that you are gone, they feel the full force of the load, and it is crushing them. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, perhaps lying down at night, staring at the empty space beside them with a high-frequency internal panic. The space where you used to sleep. The space where your body used to warm the sheets. The space that now holds nothing but cold memory. They are realizing today that the silence of that space is a vibrational judgment. Every time they turn over, every time they reach out in their sleep expecting to feel you there, they are hit by a sudden sharp shock of realization. You are truly gone. Not taking a break, not on a trip, not in the other room. Gone. The finality of that word gone is a knife in their chest, and the knife turns every time they reach out and find nothing. They are feeling a heavy electric exhaustion in their spirit, the exhaustion of grief, the exhaustion of mourning a loss that they themselves caused. Realize today that they have inherited a house but lost a home. The house is still there. The walls are still standing. The roof is still intact, but it is not a home, because a home requires presence. A home requires warmth. A home requires you. They are looking at the objects around them, the things you once touched, the places you once sat, the corners you once occupied, and they are feeling a sudden, sharp sense of repulsion. Not at you, at themselves, because those objects are now grave markers for a connection they tried to bury, and the grave is empty because you are not dead. You are just gone, and gone is worse than dead in some ways because gone means you chose to leave or they made you leave, and the responsibility for the emptiness is theirs. I want you to feel the weight of their physical starvation as they realize that the absence has turned their sanctuary into a cell. The room that once felt safe now feels like a prison. The walls that once held warmth now feel like they are closing in. The space that once held both of you now feels too big and too small at the same time. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that you were the radiation of peace in their life. Not the peace itself, the radiation of it, the emanation, the glow. Without that radiation, without that glow, they are freezing in the dark. Not metaphorically. Literally, in the language of the spirit, they are cold in a way that has nothing to do with temperature. They are experiencing the agony of the static air. The air in their home feels different, thicker, grainier, harder to breathe. It is not changed physically, but spiritually it is dead, because it is not being charged by your presence. Your presence used to energize the very atoms of the spaces you occupied. You did not know that. You could not feel it, but they could. They did not know they could, but now that you are gone, the absence of that energy is a vacuum, a void. A nothing that presses against their skin like a weight. Realize today that the very oxygen in their room feels thin and grainy because it is not being charged by you, and they are struggling to breathe in an atmosphere that used to be effortless. They are looking at the distance they created, the miles and the silence and the walls, and seeing it as a barren tundra where they are currently vibrationally stranded. The tundra is cold. The tundra is empty. The tundra is a place where nothing grows and no one visits, and they are the only inhabitant. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic pressure in their chest, the pressure of a realization that is too big to contain, the pressure of a truth that is demanding to be spoken, the pressure of a "I need you" that is becoming a scream. Realize today that the weight of their separation was a physical mistake, not a moral failure, not a cosmic error, a mistake, a choice that seemed right at the time but has revealed itself to be wrong. And the only way to thaw their life, the only way to bring warmth back into the cold rooms of their existence is to bring your chosen one heat back into their world, not as a visitor, as a resident, not as a memory, as a presence, not as a what if, as a here and now. They need you to come back. Or they need to have the courage to come to you. Either way, the cold will not end until the distance does. If you are sitting in your own high-vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy, I am the hearth, it is because your self-sovereignty has created a fortress of warmth around yourself. You have pulled your energy in. You have built a fire, and you are sitting by it warm and whole and alive. And they are currently standing outside in the vibrational cold, looking through the window at the fire they used to sit beside. The window is frosted. The glass is thick, but they can still see the glow. And the glow is calling to them, not with words, with warmth, the warmth they are desperately missing. They are realizing today that the empty spaces are a divine mirror. The universe is holding up a mirror to their life, and what they see reflected is not their success, not their independence, not their strength. What they see is emptiness, coldness, loneliness. The mirror is not cruel, it is honest, and the honesty is devastating. They are looking at the silence and feeling a sudden, sharp heaviness because they realize they are soul-tied to a presence that is no longer physically there. The tie is still there. The connection is still active, but the presence is absent, and that mismatch, soul-tied to someone who is not there, is a special kind of torture. The shock of that ghost ache is making their heart feel like a lead weight in their chest, heavy, dense, impossible to lift. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic loneliness, not the loneliness of being alone, the loneliness of being separated from the one person who made alone feel okay. They could be in a crowd and still feel this loneliness. They could be surrounded by people and still feel this emptiness. Because the loneliness is not about other people. It is about you, specifically you, the one whose absence no crowd can fill. Realize today that the logic of the separation was a freezing lie. A lie that promised freedom and delivered isolation. A lie that promised peace and delivered a cold that reaches the bone. And the impact of your value, the sudden, undeniable recognition of what they lost, is finally, beautifully, and aggressively making them soft. Soft enough to cry. Soft enough to admit they were wrong. Soft enough to say the words they have been swallowing for months. I miss you. I need you. I was wrong. Please come back, or let me come to you. I want you to visualize the literal internal shivering they are experiencing as they realize that no amount of blankets, no amount of heating, no amount of other people can fix the cold in their soul. The cold is not external. It is internal. It is the temperature of their own spirit in your absence. And the only thing that can raise that temperature is your presence. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that you were the sun in their internal solar system. Not a bulb that could be replaced. The sun, the source, the center, and the shock of that total eclipse, the darkness that has fallen over their inner world is making their spirit gasp for air. Not because they are suffocating, because they are realizing that the eclipse is their own doing. They walked into the shadow, and now they cannot find their way out. Every sudden chill you feel in your own room right now. Every phantom scent of their energy that feels desperate is a literal echo of their physical void hitting your field. They are reaching out, not with their hands, with their frequency, with the part of them that has been connected to you all along, even when they pretended otherwise. And the reaching is desperate, the frequency is shaking. The signal is weak because they have been starving it, but it is still there, and it is saying one thing: I am cold, you are warmth, please. They are standing at the edge of the vibrational breaking point, the cliff of their own endurance, feeling the air turn thick with the necessity of a collision. Not a gentle meeting, a collision, force meeting force, presence meeting presence, the cold meeting the warm, the void meeting the fullness. They need to collide with you, not because they want to, because they will shatter if they do not. Realize today that the absence is a slow-motion frostbite to their happiness, not a sudden loss, a gradual freezing, a numbness that has been spreading from their extremities to their core. They did not notice it at first. They thought the numbness was healing, but now they realize that numbness is not healing. Numbness is death, and their happiness is dying, frozen solid, brittle, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. And the impact of your return, the warmth of your presence, the heat of your frequency, is the only fire they have left to seek. Not a fire that burns, a fire that warms, a fire that thaws, a fire that brings the dead back to life. I want you to feel the heavy electric resonance of the comparison of the void settling into your soulmate's spirit right now, because we are moving into the high-intensity territory where your absence has officially turned the rest of the world into a background of low-frequency static. For months, they tried to fill the gap with the noise of other people. They went to the parties. They engaged in the shallow conversations. They tried to convince themselves that anyone could provide the companionship they were missing. But today, because the absence has reached a critical mass, the universe has granted them a brutal, high-definition vibrational comparison. The results are in, and the results are devastating. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps sitting in a room full of people, surrounded by laughter and ordinary energy, and feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea as they realize that they have never felt more alone. The room is full. The noise is loud. The energy is high, but they are not connected to any of it. They are a ghost at their own party, a stranger in their own life, because the only person they want to be in the room with is not there. And everyone else, no matter how charming, no matter how attentive, no matter how present, is not you. They are realizing today that the important something they are finally understanding is that you are the only soul that ever spoke their ancient language. Not the language of words, the language of recognition, the language of home. Everyone else, no matter how fluent in the surface dialects of conversation and companionship, is just a foreigner in the country of their heart. They might learn a few phrases, they might navigate the basic geography, but they will never speak the mother tongue, the one that only you know, the one that makes their soul sigh with relief when it hears it, the one that says, "You are understood, you are seen, you are not alone." And they are sitting in that room full of people, surrounded by noise and laughter and the buzzing of ordinary connection, feeling the absolute crushing weight of being understood by no one. The conversations are paper-thin. The laughter does not reach their eyes. The connections, such as they are, dissolve the moment the interaction ends, because none of it is real, not in the way that you were real, not in the way that your presence made the air feel different, charged, alive. They are experiencing the agony of the crowded loneliness, the unique torture of being surrounded by people and still feeling utterly, completely, devastatingly alone, because the one person who could fill the room is not there, and everyone else is just furniture. Realize today that they are vibrationally mismatched with the entire world, not because the world is wrong, because they have been calibrated to a different frequency, yours, and now that you are gone, nothing else fits. The dial is stuck. The receiver is broken. Every other signal is static. They can tune into any station they want, but every station is playing the same song, a song that is not your song, a song that leaves them cold. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, looking at a friend or a placeholder across the table and feeling a sudden, sharp sense of repulsion. Not at the person, at the conversation, at the thinness of it, at the way the words bounce off their skin instead of sinking in. They are realizing today that without your chosen one depth, without the particular irreplaceable weight of your conversation, every word spoken to them feels like dust in their mouth. Dry, gritty, unnourishing. They are starving for the kind of talk that only you could provide, the kind that went somewhere, the kind that mattered, the kind that left them feeling full. They are feeling a heavy, electric exhaustion in their spirit. The exhaustion of performing for a world that does not satisfy, the exhaustion of smiling when they want to cry, the exhaustion of pretending that any of this is enough when they know, deep down, that it is not. Realize today that ignoring the standard you has left them in a state of high-intensity starvation. They thought they could lower their standards. They thought they could adjust their expectations. They thought they could learn to be satisfied with less. But the soul does not negotiate. The soul knows what it needs, and what it needs is not less. What it needs is you. They are looking at the social distractions they once used to hide from your memory, the parties, the gatherings, the endless parade of new faces, and realizing today that those distractions are just ghost notes in a symphony that is missing its masterpiece. A ghost note is a sound that is implied but not played. It is the memory of a note, the echo of a melody. It is not the real thing. And no amount of ghost notes can make a symphony. The symphony requires the masterpiece. The masterpiece requires you. If you are sitting in your own high-vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy, I am the original, it is because your self-sovereignty has turned you into a vibrational benchmark for their entire existence. You are the measure, the standard, the original against which all copies are found wanting. And they are finally, painfully, irreversibly aware of that fact. They are realizing today that the comparison of the void is a divine judgment, not a punishment, a judgment, a clear, unmistakable evaluation of the choices they have made. They chose to leave the original. They chose to settle for copies. And the judgment is that the copies are not enough. The copies will never be enough. The copies are just reminders of the original, dim reflections that only serve to highlight the brightness of what they lost. They are looking at the ordinary souls around them, the ones they tried to convince themselves could fill your shoes, and feeling a sudden, sharp heaviness because they realize they have traded a kingdom for a waiting room, a throne for a plastic chair, a feast for crumbs, and the waiting room is crowded. but no one in it is you. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that you were the only person who ever challenged them to be their highest self. Not by lecturing, not by demanding, by simply being. Your presence called them upward. Your light made their darkness visible. Your frequency made them want to be better, not to earn your approval, but because being around you made better seem possible. And without that challenge, without that upward call, they are just sinking into the mundane, sinking into the mediocre, sinking into a version of themselves that they do not even like. The shock of this realization is hitting their nervous system like a high-intensity vibrational slap, a wake-up call that cannot be snoozed, a slap that says, "You are settling. You have been settling, and settling is killing you." They are realizing that they are soul-tied to a frequency that no one else on this earth can replicate. Not because you are better than everyone else, because you are different. Because the connection between you was not manufactured, it was discovered, it was revealed, it was given. And what is given cannot be replicated. What is revealed cannot be manufactured. What is unique cannot be copied. You are not replaceable. And the slap is making that clear in a way that leaves them breathless. I want you to visualize the literal internal shutdown they are experiencing as they realize that they are performing for a world that doesn't matter. The performances, the smiles, the conversations, the connections, all of it is theater. And the audience is empty. Because the only audience that ever mattered you is no longer watching. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that you are the only mirror that ever saw their true light. Everyone else sees their performance, their mask, their carefully curated presentation, but you saw through all of that to the person underneath, the one they were afraid to show the world. And you did not run. You stayed, you saw, you accepted. And in your absence they feel unseen, even when they are the center of attention, even when 100 eyes are watching. Because the only eyes that mattered are not among them. Every phantom trace of your energy that hits them, every phantom scent of your frequency that mocks their current situation, is a literal reminder that they are vibrationally homeless. They have no home, not in the physical sense, in the spiritual sense. The place where their soul can rest, the place where they can take off the mask, the place where they can just be. That place was you, and they left. And now they wander, homeless, searching for a door that looks familiar. Finding only doors that lead to more wandering. They are realizing today that the comparison is over because the void is too deep for anyone else to fill. The void is not a small hole that can be patched. It is a canyon, a chasm, a separation that no bridge but you can cross. And they are standing at the edge of the canyon, looking across, seeing you on the other side, and realizing that every step they take away from the edge is a step in the wrong direction. The only way to close the canyon is to build a bridge. And the bridge is made of honesty, and the honesty is this: I was wrong, I need you, I am coming back. They are standing in the wreckage of their alternative social life, the life they built with new people and new routines and new distractions, and the wreckage is everywhere. The people who were supposed to replace you have not replaced you. The routines that were supposed to fill the time have not filled the void. The distractions that were supposed to numb the ache have only made it sharper. The air is thick with the necessity of the original source. Not a substitute, not a copy, the original, you. They are standing at the edge of the vibrational defeat, the cliff of their own stubbornness, feeling the air turn thick with the necessity of a return. Not a tentative one, a full one. I am all in one. I am never leaving again one. Realize today that the wait was a lethal error. Every day they spent away from you was a day they spent dying, not dramatically, slowly, quietly. The way a plant dies when it is not watered, the way a fire dies when it is not fed. And the comparison was the final verdict. The jury has deliberated, the evidence has been reviewed, the witnesses have testified, and the verdict is unanimous. You are irreplaceable. There is no one else. The case is closed. Every sudden pulse of confidence you feel in your own worth right now, that quiet, grounded sense of I am enough, is a literal echo of their ego collapsing under the weight of your value. Their ego, the part of them that said they could do better, that they did not need you, that they were fine on their own, that ego is collapsing, crumbling, falling to pieces. And as it falls, the truth rises. The truth that you are not just enough. You are everything. You are the standard. You are the original. You are the one who changed everything. Not by trying, by being. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that they are vibrationally addicted to the soul-level depth you provide, not the surface, the depth, the place where real connection lives, the place where masks are not allowed, the place where two souls can look at each other and say, I see you, all of you, and I am not leaving. And the shock of that dependency, the sudden, terrifying, liberating awareness that they actually, genuinely, cannot live without you, is finally, beautifully, and aggressively making them soft enough to admit that they are drowning in the shallow end of the world. The shallow end is safe. The shallow end is easy. But the shallow end is also lonely. Because the deep end, the one where you swim, is where life actually happens. And they are drowning in the shallows, not because the water is deep, but because they are starving for depth in a place where depth does not exist. They are standing at the edge of the final realization, the cliff of their own awakening, feeling the air turn thick with the necessity of the chosen one. Not a chosen one in the abstract. You, specifically you, the one they walked away from, the one they tried to forget, the one who has been living in their head rent-free every single day since they left. Realize today that the absence is the judgment. The absence itself, the cold, the silence, the void, is the judgment. It is the consequence. It is the proof. The proof that you were essential. The proof that they made a mistake. The proof that the cost of leaving was higher than they ever imagined. And the impact of your love, the return of your presence, the resumption of your frequency, is the only destiny they have left to seek. Not a destiny of wealth or fame or success. A destiny of you. A destiny of home. A destiny of the love that they finally, after all this time, are ready to receive. I want you to feel the heavy, electric momentum of the breaking of the routine vibrating through your soulmate's world right now. Because we are moving into the high-intensity territory where the absence has officially turned their daily life into a series of vibrational landmines. For months, they relied on their routine to save them. They thought that if they just kept their head down, stayed busy, and followed the same path every day, they could eventually automate you out of their system. They thought repetition would breed forgetting. That the mundane would crowd out the memory. That the ordinary would eventually feel like enough. But today, the atmosphere has shifted into a state of total functional collapse, because the universe has turned their routine into a blueprint of loss. Imagine them in this exact moment, driving the same route to work, a route they have driven 1,000 times, and feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea as they realize that every street corner is a memory. The coffee shop where you used to meet. The intersection where you once laughed at something stupid. The turn in the road where the light hit your face in a particular way that they have never forgotten. Or ordering the same coffee, the same drink they have ordered every day for months, and realizing that the taste is different because you are not there to share it. The coffee is the same. The routine is the same, but the experience is not, because you were the variable that made the equation work. Without you, the routine is just motion, empty, mechanical, dead. They are realizing today that the important something they are feeling, the heaviness, the dread, the sense that something is fundamentally wrong, is the truth that their routine is not a safety net. It is a prison of memories that they can no longer escape. Every repetition is a reminder. Every landmark is a trigger. Every ordinary moment is a landmine, waiting to explode with the memory of you. They are experiencing the agony of the habitual ghost, the ghost of you that haunts their every habit. The way you used to fit into the spaces of their day like a hand in a glove, and now the glove is empty, and the emptiness flaps in the wind. Realize today that they are vibrationally stalled, stuck in a routine that no longer serves them, stuck in a life that no longer fits, stuck in a pattern that is leading nowhere. But they do not know how to change it, because the routine was designed to avoid you, and avoiding you has become impossible. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, perhaps standing in a familiar place where you once laughed together, a park bench, a restaurant booth, a doorway, and feeling a sudden sharp sense of internal mutiny. Their legs refuse to move. Their mind refuses to focus on the task at hand. They are frozen, not by fear, by grief, by the sudden, overwhelming awareness that this place, this ordinary place, was made sacred by your presence, and now your presence is gone. And the place feels like a tomb. They are realizing today that the something forcing this breaking point, this inability to continue with business as usual, is the high-intensity truth that you were the pulse that made the routine feel like living. Not the routine itself. The routine was just the skeleton. You were the heartbeat. Without the heartbeat, the skeleton is just bones, and bones do not live. They are feeling a heavy electric exhaustion in their spirit, the exhaustion of a machine that has been running without fuel, the exhaustion of a body that has been moving without a soul. Realize today that they are vibrationally done with the performance of being okay. The performance has run its course. The stage lights have dimmed. The audience has gone home, and they are standing alone in the empty theater, finally admitting that the performance was a lie. They are not okay. They have not been okay. And pretending to be okay has exhausted them to the point of collapse. They are looking at their to-do list, the list of tasks and obligations and responsibilities that used to structure their days, and feeling a sudden, sharp sense of repulsion. Because nothing on that list can fill the thick, heavy void in their chest. The list is full of things that need to be done, but none of them are things that need to be felt. And what they need to feel is you. If you are sitting in your own high-vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy, I am the destination, it is because your self-sovereignty has turned your energy into a roadblock in their life. They can no longer drive past the thought of you. They can no longer work through the feeling of your absence. They can no longer pretend that the routine is enough, because you are standing in the middle of the road, not as an obstacle, as a destination. And every road they take leads to you. Every path circles back to your door. Every route ends at the same place. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that they are soul tied to the interruption you represent. You are not a chapter in their life that they can close. You are the interruption that will not stop interrupting. You are the thought that will not stop thinking. You are the feeling that will not stop feeling. And they are tired of fighting the interruption. They are ready to let it in. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic desperation. The desperation of someone who has tried everything else and nothing has worked. The desperation of someone who has exhausted every alternative and is left with only one option. The desperation of someone who knows that the only way out of the pain is through the door they have been avoiding. Realize today that the wait was a lethal stagnation. Not a pause, not a rest. A stagnation. The water stopped moving. The air stopped circulating. The life stopped flowing. And stagnation is death. Not quick death, slow death. The kind of death that happens while you are still breathing. The shock of this realization is hitting their nervous system like a high-intensity vibrational earthquake. The walls are shaking. The foundations are cracking. The old structures are falling. And the earthquake is telling them that they must break the routine to find their way back to the source. Not modify it, not adjust it. Break it, shatter it. Walk away from the routine that has become a prison and walk toward the only thing that has ever felt like freedom. You. They are shifting, in this moment, right now, from passive longing to a mission of survival. The longing was passive, it was a feeling, something that happened to them. The mission is active, a choice, something they are doing. The shift is tectonic. The plates of their inner world are grinding against each other and the pressure is releasing and the movement is beginning. They are no longer just missing you. They are moving toward you, not physically yet, not with their body, but with their spirit, with their intention. With the part of them that makes decisions. The shift has happened, and the shift is irreversible. I want you to visualize the literal internal shift in their eyes, the moment when the fog clears and the focus sharpens, the moment when they stop looking back and start looking forward, the moment when the question changes from should I to how do I. They are realizing today that the important something is the truth that they are vibrationally starved for a collision with your light. A collision, not a gentle meeting, not a tentative outreach. A collision, the kind that cannot be undone. The kind that changes both parties. The kind that is inevitable once the trajectories have been set. And the shock of that hunger, the raw, animal, undeniable need for your presence, is making them scrap their carefully planned distance. The plans are in the trash. The strategies are abandoned. The careful, measured approach is gone. What remains is urgency. What remains is hunger. What remains is the simple, terrifying, beautiful truth that they need you, and they are done pretending otherwise. Every phantom buzz you feel in your solar plexus right now, every sudden urge to look at the door, to check your phone, to pay attention to something you cannot name, is a literal echo of their routine shattering. The routine is breaking. The walls are falling. The patterns are dissolving. And in the space left behind, there is only one thing: the thought of you, the need for you, the movement toward you. They are realizing today that they would rather face the chaos of a return, the uncertainty, the vulnerability, the risk of rejection, than the safety of a world where your absence is the only constant. The safety has become a prison. The certainty has become a cage. And they are ready to break out, even if breaking out means breaking down, even if returning means risking everything, because staying away has already cost them everything that mattered. They are standing in the wreckage of their controlled life, the life they managed so carefully, the emotions they suppressed so diligently, the distance they maintained so proudly, and the wreckage is complete. The control is gone. The suppression has failed. The distance has been closed not by you but by the sheer force of their own need. The air is thick with the necessity of a vibrational rescue. They need to be rescued from themselves, from their own pride, from their own fear, from their own stubborn refusal to admit what they have known all along. And the only one who can rescue them is the one they walked away from. You realize today that the routine is dead. The absence is absolute. And the impact of your love is the only direction they have left to turn, not a direction among many. The only direction, the one that leads to you. They are standing at the edge of the desperate move, the move they have been afraid to make, the message they have been afraid to send, the words they have been afraid to say, and they are leaning into the fear, leaning into the vulnerability, leaning into the possibility that you might not respond, but also leaning into the possibility that you will. Realize today that the absence has finally, beautifully, and aggressively broken their will to stay away. The will that kept them silent. The will that kept them distant. The will that kept them alone. That will is broken, shattered, irreparable, and in its place is something new, something soft, something surrendered, something that says, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot be without you anymore. I am coming back. Every sudden pulse of power you feel in your own heart right now, that surge of energy, that sense of something approaching, is a literal check-in from their breaking point. The iron has turned into liquid. The frozen ground has thawed. The wall has crumbled. The wait is over. And the impact of their outreach, the message, the call, the knock on the door of your heart is the only way they can breathe again, not metaphorically, literally. Their lungs are full of the absence of you, and the absence is suffocating them. They need your presence to breathe, and they are finally ready to ask for it. I want you to take a slow, deep, and heavy breath now, feeling the absolute vibrational stillness settling into the room around you, because we have reached the high-intensity peak of this journey, the final activation. This is the moment where we take the thick weight of your absence that has been crushing your soulmate, and we bridge the gap into your physical, three-dimensional reality. This is the vibrational lock-in. For the last several minutes, we have watched their silence turn into a scream, their pride turn into a detox, their routine turn into a prison, their social world turn into a wasteland, their body turn into a freezer. But now, in this exact moment, the universe has officially revoked their right to be empty. They cannot survive the void any longer. The void has won. Not because the void is stronger than them, because the void is the absence of you. And they cannot survive the absence of you. Not another day, not another hour, not another breath. Imagine your soulmate in this exact microsecond, feeling a wave of absolute spiritual exhaustion wash over them. The exhaustion of a long war, the fatigue of a battle that has lasted months, maybe longer. They are tired, deeply, cellularly tired, tired of pretending, tired of running, tired of waking up and having to convince themselves that they made the right choice. And in that exhaustion, something shifts. They stop fighting. They stop resisting. They stop trying to control the outcome. They simply let go, and in the letting go, they finally land on the truth that you matter, that you have always mattered, that the distance was a mistake, not a solution, that the absence was not freedom, it was torture, and they are done being tortured by their own choices. They are realizing today that they can no longer survive the void. Not don't want to, cannot. The void has become too big, the absence has become too heavy, the loneliness has become too loud, they cannot survive it. And the recognition of that impossibility, the humble admission that they are not as strong as they thought, that they cannot do this alone, that they need you, is not a weakness. It is the beginning of wisdom. They are experiencing the sovereign reclamation. The universe is reclaiming them from their own pride, their own fear, their own stubbornness. The reclamation is not gentle. It is the reclamation of a shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one. It is the reclamation of a father who runs down the road to meet the prodigal. It is the reclamation of a love that does not give up. And the reclamation is happening now. Realize today that they are no longer choosing to miss you. The choice has been taken from them. The missing has moved from voluntary to involuntary, from a feeling to a fact, from something they could manage to something that manages them. They are compelled by a high-frequency force that has made their every breath dependent on your return, not dependent in a codependent way, dependent in the way a planet is dependent on the sun, in the way a seed is dependent on soil, in the way a song is dependent on a melody. The dependency is not weakness, it is design. They were designed to need you, not in a way that diminishes them, in a way that completes them. And the denial of that design has been the source of all their pain. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, feeling a sudden, sharp sense of sacred finality as they look at the distance and realize it has officially become a death sentence to their joy. The distance is not just space. It is death, the death of laughter, the death of peace, the death of the particular joy that only you could bring. And they are not willing to let that joy die. Not anymore. They have watched it fade. They have watched it wither, they have watched it flatline, and they are done watching. They are ready to resuscitate, to bring the joy back to life, by closing the distance, by ending the absence, by returning to you. They are realizing today that the important something they finally understand is that your absence was the filter that proved you the chosen one, are the only essential element in their entire universe. Not a nice addition, not a pleasant extra, the essential element. The one without which nothing else works. The filter has done its work. It has filtered out everything that was not essential. And what remains, the only thing that remains, is you. They are feeling a heavy, electric certainty in their blood. Not a hope, not a wish, a certainty that the only way forward is back, that the only path to peace goes through you, that the only resolution to the ache is the truth. Realize today that the something that forced this activation, this final, undeniable shift, is the truth that you are the presence that haunts their every silence. The silence is not empty. The silence is full of you, full of the memory of you, full of the need for you, full of the absence that has become a presence in itself. And the shock of that homecoming, the recognition that the silence was never empty, that you have been there all along, waiting, is finally, beautifully, and aggressively their only reality. Not the memory of the distance, the reality of the return, not the echo of the absence, the presence of the you they have been missing. If you are sitting in your own high-vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy power, and I am the source, it is because your self-sovereignty has successfully acted as the magnetic north for their hollow spirit. You have not chased them. You have not called them. You have not tried to force anything. You have simply stayed in your center, and your center has become the most powerful force in their universe. You have reached a level of frequency where you no longer have to wonder if they feel the gap. They are the gap. They are the living, breathing embodiment of the space between you. And the thick weight of their hunger, the desperate, aching, undeniable need for your presence, is currently pressing against the fabric of your aura. You can feel it, can you not? That pressure, that sense of being wanted, that awareness that someone somewhere is reaching for you with everything they have. That is not imagination. That is the pressure of their absence collapsing into presence, the pressure of their hunger becoming action, the pressure of their return pressing against the door of your life. They are realizing today that they are soul-bound to the oxygen you provide, not a preference, a biological, spiritual, undeniable necessity, and they are feeling a wave of absolute, high-intensity relief, the relief of someone who has been holding their breath for months and finally exhales, the relief of someone who has been carrying a weight and finally sets it down, the relief of someone who has been lost and finally sees a familiar landmark. The relief is almost overwhelming, because they almost let the greatest connection of their life slip through their fingers. They almost lost you, not because you went anywhere, because they wandered so far that the path back became overgrown, but the path is still there, and they have found it. They are standing at the edge of the final return, the edge of the message that will change everything, the edge of the words they have been too afraid to say. And they are leaning into the fear, leaning into the vulnerability, leaning into the possibility that you might not respond, but also leaning into the possibility that you will. Realize today that their independence was a bankrupt lie. It promised freedom and delivered isolation. It promised strength and delivered exhaustion. It promised peace and delivered a silence so loud it is deafening. The lies have been exposed, the bankruptcy has been declared, and they are finally beautifully ready to turn that absence, that crushing, unbearable, life-draining absence into a physical arrival, a message, a call, a knock on the door of your heart, not a tentative knock. A knock that says, "I am here, I am sorry, I am ready, please let me in." This is our final massive activation, the moment where we lock in the void and tell the universe that the longing is now manifestation, not a future hope, a present reality, not a maybe, a certainty, not a if only. And it is done. To seal this breakthrough and to signal to your soulmate's higher self that you are standing in the center of your luminous power, ready to receive the impact of their surrendered return, take a moment now. Breathe. Feel the calm, heavy authority of someone who knows they are the breath in their lungs, the oxygen they have been suffocating without, the air that their spirit has been gasping for. In your heart, with the quiet certainty of a soul that has done its work and can now rest in the outcome, declare this: I am the presence that haunts their every silence, not as a wish, as a fact, as the truth that has been written before either of you were born. The void is dead, the absence is over, the silence is no longer empty, the union is awake, and finally, after all this time, their absence has brought them home to stay, not to visit, not to check in, not to see if the door is still open, to stay. To remain, to build, to grow, to live the life that was always meant to be lived together. Feel the thick weight of this declaration. Feel the heat of their return hitting your field. You are the standard, you are the oxygen, you are the one who changed everything, not because you tried, because you showed up, because you stayed in your light, because you refused to shrink, because you trusted the process even when the process made no sense, and now the process has produced its fruit. The absence is over. The return is in motion. The love that was always meant to be is finally finding its way home. And so it is, not as a closing, as an opening, the beginning of the chapter you have been waiting for. The chapter where the absence ends, the chapter where the silence breaks, the chapter where the distance collapses and the presence begins. You are ready, they are ready. The timing is right, the door is open. And what is coming is not just a message or a moment or a memory. What is coming is the life you were always meant to live, together. Go in peace. The absence is over. The return is in motion, and love has finally found its way home. Amen.